Greetings, mighty companions, and welcome back to Transforming Relationships Through A Course in Miracles with Doc Quinns.
And Holy Spirit.
In the
Our
house.
higher loving self. that
In the
knows
house.
best. In the
Always.
house.
Always. At your service. Well, mighty companions, thank you for joining us. I'm going to put up blah, 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 the name of this section. Thank you. Oops. And then we're going to go to Facebook and turn that on.
And you're
I'm going to
looking
turn Facebook
very
on.
lovely tonight, might I
Do
say.
you think I can turn Facebook on? Oh, you're
Hey.
so sweet.
While you're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be right.
Okay, I got Facebook turned on, and now we've got our section. And what we do, as we always do on our broadcast, is we are going to be talking about A Course in Miracles. We're going to be reading from A Course in Miracles, and we're going to be learning how to apply A Course in Miracles, what we're reading today, to our relationship, and hopefully for the purpose of helping you to do the same. So this is a class where we are looking at what A Course in Miracles has to say about relationships and how relationships can be transformed from an experience of a lot of pain and guilt and despair into miracles of joy and peace and temples of safety, temples of that are sheltering, temples that are safe for both people. That's what relationships are supposed to be. Relationships are supposed to be temples where your true self can be reborn in safety and joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're supposed to be. That's what they could be. So who knew? Now
Yeah.
you do. And so
It's not the way we used to think about
That's right.
relationships.
that's right. That's not what we
Yeah.
learned about relationships, that they're supposed to be temples of healing where our true self is reborn in perfect safety and peace. Now, is that how you experience your relationships? Okay, that's not how I've experienced my relationships, typically speaking. Not
Well-
my special relationships,
We really didn't know that that's what they were for either.
Not at all. I didn't know what relationships were really for.
We thought they were for getting,
What I want.
controlling,
Mm-hmm.
manipulating, giving guilt so that it goes the way I want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. God created us, to be in relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are in our learning to be in relationship, but through each other.
Exactly.
And when we give our relationship a different meaning than we used to give it,
Different purpose.
then you get, like they say, a different outcome.
That's right.
Different
That's how it
input,
happens.
different outcome. Do the same thing over and over, and you do the same thing back over and over.
Exactly.
But different input, different output.
Exactly. So that's what we're going for. So let's see. How about we go for some music?
Let's do it.
Let's do that. Okay.
You know how we like the music.
I do. It's like spiritual lubricant. That's what I say.
Lubricant.
That's what I say. Let me turn this down a little bit. All right.
Hi, Tricia. Hi, Sydney.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you all. Let me hand me my chapstick from that little glass bowl over there. All right, you guys. Well, where we're going to be reading is from the Teacher's Manual, which is the third book of the curriculum. And this is What Are the Characteristics of Love's Messengers, Part 4. That's what this is. And we have been going through this section that is titled, What Are the Characteristics of Love's Messengers?
Yeah, what are they like?
Yeah,
And
what are they like?
those characteristics are learned.
Exactly.
They're developed.
They're developed. You develop trust. You develop patience. You develop generosity. You develop gentleness. And so that's what we're developing. Whenever anybody decides that they want to be a messenger of love instead of fear, then something occurs where now the universe is going to teach them and give them the development program where they become what they want to be, which is a teacher of love, a healer, a messenger of love. And so we have gone through, there's 10 characteristics that we develop as a messenger of love. And and then the first characteristic is trust. And then the next characteristic is honesty. And then the next characteristic is,
I think, generosity.
Was it Yeah, let's see what it is.
Okay, let's see.
Go back.
It's
trust.
tolerance.
Trust. First you develop trust, then you develop honesty, then tolerance, then gentleness, then joy. And we have covered the characteristics up to 1 through 4. And today we're going to start in the characteristic called joy.
Joy.
Did you know that joy was a characteristic of love's messengers that love's messengers develop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is interesting. You look at the little checkoff box. Were they honest?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's honest?
Mm-hmm.
Well, honest is consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They're always giving, in a sense, to others in the situation.
Right. They're consistently
They're honest.
Right.
And so, okay, check. And you just go down each one of them and we're checking them off. And we don't need to feel bad that, well,
we haven't mastered them.
I'm not consistent.
Yeah, we don't need to feel bad that we've mastered them. This is what we're developing as a messenger of love. By definition, we haven't mastered these characteristics yet, but this is what we're learning. Mm-hmm. And what a wonderful curriculum, what a wonderful learning goal to have, right? To develop the characteristics of being a consistent messenger of love instead of fear.
And it makes sense, doesn't it, that the Course says that the teacher of God, was asked for time. Mm-hmm. And time was given to them. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that was interesting, that we ask Creator for time. And so it makes sense that Creator went, okay, I'll give you time. And so
time for learning.
I'll use it for learning.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're using time for.
And the Course says there's no better use for time than learning how to become what you are, a messenger of love, a love healer. That's what you are. That's what you've come to learn that you are, right? And so what better use of your time? And when you use time for a loving purpose, then time is kind.
Right.
Now, time is not kind when you are using time for unloving purposes like judgment, like grievances, like getting your way. Okay. Time is not kind. Now, we all know what it looks like when time ain't kind. But when you're using time for a loving, healing purpose, like how can I develop myself to be a more loving teacher and healer? Now time will be kind with you.
Right.
I'd like time to be kind. I'd like to learn that, how to experience time as kind. So we've been through the first 4 characteristics of love's messengers. And now we're going to start with the 5th characteristic of love's messengers, what A Course in Miracles calls the teachers of God. And it is joy.
Joy.
Oh, joy is a characteristic that I'm learning to develop. I thought joy was just something that happened for you when you got what you wanted. Or you got your way.
Or you die and you go to...
Oh, yes. Or you die and go to heaven. Hopefully. Hopefully, says the ego. But apparently joy is a characteristic that love's messengers develop.
So that's really cool because, sometimes when you look at a certain curriculum, you're like, I don't know if I want to be like them or not. Mm-hmm. But to hear that one of their goals of development is the development of joy. And how to be joyful.
And joy is a characteristic.
Right.
Joy isn't something that happens to you when you get your way. Joy is a characteristic,
It's just part of their makeup.
That's a joyous person.
Yeah, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Without effort.
And
without having to go anywhere.
They're a joyous person whether things go their way or not.
Without having to be right.
Yeah, exactly. They're a joyous person even when they're wrong, even when they realize, oh, I was wrong about that.
Right. They're still joyous.
Even when things don't go their way, they're still joyous.
Because
imagine that.
Because they're honest and they don't give themselves guilt or the other person or the situation. They just gave it to Spirit and said, well, you take this one. I forget I'm not the judge. I remember I'm not the judge.
Oh yeah, I just remembered.
I give this situation to you, Spirit. And then all of a sudden, what did we read that and maybe it was the class that you just did that the world shifts. Was that one of the lessons that we did?
That was what we were just reviewing that in our class last Tuesday, where when you are exhibiting the characteristic of gentleness, that the world shifts around you without you having to say or do anything. When you stop judging, right? And
that's what Anna and I have both experienced. We have experienced, where it looked like, oh, this might not be good. And then, well, I hear Anna ringing in my ear a lot because she says it so much and I love it. She just always says, Spirit, decide for us. And it's like a few simple words.
Yeah.
And it just puts the situation immediately. Doesn't have to go on a 5-hour prayer. This is happening. Explain everything that's happening. The Spirit is just, all we know is this is tempting us with fear or guilt or ill judgment.
Tempting us to do harm.
Harm can come to us. Whatever. And that fast you can give it to Spirit.
And receives love's answer.
And isn't that really the training, the curriculum that we're working to do is, like fast draw. How fast can I give this situation, to Spirit?
Yes.
And I get faster and faster at it. Stop trying to do it on my own. Stop trying to figure it out like I have all the answers. That I have a good game plan I'm working on.
Even though you're not totally happy.
I'm almost done drawing it up. I just need you to do that.
Then you do that.
And I'm going to do this.
And it needs to happen in this timing.
And it's got to get done by then.
And then I'll be happy.
And in other words, all these contingencies.
All these conditions.
And conditions for happiness. What kind of God would we have if God goes, you know what? I create all these characteristics, by the way, are natural.
That's the way God created us to be.
As God created us to be.
Joyous.
God created us to be naturally joyous. I mean, you can't help to be naturally joyous when you come to the final benchmark of everything's working out for good. This is crazy. No matter what, everything is working out for good. It's all just going great. It's gone the way Spirit wants it to. I haven't had to judge anything. I can't remember the last time I had to judge anything.
I don't have to figure anything out. Who knew that joy was a built-in characteristic that was built into us in our creation? Like, did you know that you were created in joy, out of joy, and joy is your natural state. You are wired and created for joy. That's the way you were created. And what we're experiencing, which is the opposite of joy, is not our natural state, is not the way we were created. We are being unnatural, which of course in Miracles in the other section said means perverted. Perverted means that you are being what is not natural for you. And what's not natural for us is to not be happy, to be sorrowful, to be sad. What is natural, what we are wired for, is joy. Who knew that that's our natural state? And when we're not experiencing joy, we're being unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
As of course it says perverted. That's what perverted means, according to A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perverted is just your action is offensive.
It's unnatural. And you are being unnatural, which means you were wired and created for joy, and you're not being joyous.
And when we're being judgmental, we're being offensive.
That's exactly right. You're being you're doing unnatural.
Yeah, that unnatural state is an offense to reality.
Yes.
But we're free to
choose again.
Choose again.
And I see Renee says, my family is occultic, not loving, into the dark arts. And I went all the way left to this. Where the hell did I come from? I want to be the exact opposite. Well, Renee, you came to the right place. This is the opposite of all that is dark, all that is unloving, all that has a dark and unloving intention. This is the opposite. So you've come to the right place. This is a belief system, a philosophy, a teaching, a curriculum whose purpose is only love and love for all. No secrets, which is occultic. Occult means secret. And so here in this thought system, no secrets, and the only purpose is love. So you come to the right place for something that is the exact opposite of what you've learned and experienced in the past. So good job.
And in all fairness, Renee, we all did.
That's right. We all did.
We all did. I grew up in a religion that very devout, very, twice a week at least go to service, sometimes 3 times, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Thursday night. That was pretty regular for my family. And to have, to read a curriculum that constantly puts the idea of God is ticked off at me and
vengeful.
And if I'm a gambling man, and I was raised up to understand statistics, and to hear 3 times a week that very few will make it, which means to me that's a statistics issue.
Right.
Statistically, the odds are way against.
That's a bad curriculum.
That's nerve-wracking.
That's a bad curriculum.
And then we wake up one day and we hear, there are other thought systems. There are other
belief systems.
And that's how A Course in Miracles came to be. Is the psychologist that wrote it said there's got to be a better way. Exactly. And there's got to be a better way than a thought system that draws you in by fear. Fear is its chief weapon. That's right. Fear is the basis of that belief system. Right. And any belief system where fear or that which is hidden is the basis of that belief system, then that is a belief system that is not going to produce only love and joy. It's going to produce the opposite. And so, but this curriculum is telling us that we were created in love and joy, and that anything besides that is unnatural. And this curriculum is teaching us how to remove the barriers by which to experience how we were really created, guiltless, sinless, and in joy. So, and then Naya said, hi, Renew, lovely to see you. Hello in India there, Renew. We know this is morning time for you in India. Thanks for joining us in the morning time in India, Renew. Lovely to see you again. And Naya says, nice, practice. Spirit, please take this because I cannot carry the weight of this situation. I like that delegation. Right. And that's what you were reminding us. That is the best problem-solving approach there is. Yeah. That's the problem-solving approach the Course in Miracles teaches us. We just have to realize I'm not God. I don't know enough to judge. Yeah, I can't judge the situation. Right. And when I try to, it's upsetting me. Or it's bothering me. Yeah. Well, why?
It doesn't make me
Because-
happy.
Why is it? Because I'm doing a function that's perverted.
Yeah, that's not your natural.
It's not my natural state to judge the situation.
Right.
And for us, that's scary. We're like, well, you got to judge.
Yeah.
We were given the ability to judge for a reason. Yeah.
That's what we call maturity.
That's what I heard from fellowshipping with some people last week is we were given the ability to judge. So we should judge. We're given that ability. And I was like reminding myself of what the Course teaches us is, yeah, we were given that ability. We gave it to ourselves. We gave it to us, that ability to judge. But God didn't. God didn't create us to be a bunch of little judge mice running around the universe and judging everything.
Pretending to be God.
Yeah, and going, judge that person, judge that situation, judge that.
And burdening ourselves.
Let that know that I'm offended. Let that know I'm upset. Let that know that I'm coming with wrath. And that's what we were taught God was, is God was a way that God isn't.
Yes.
Or at least to this other way of considering another way, another option to look at things. And the least we can do is not shut doors. We can look at other options, other thought systems, other curriculum, and go and quietly listen without arguing, because usually a new thought system to transform your mind from an old mindset, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a fight because that old learning is going to be like, that's not the way I learned it. That's not the way I know it to be. That's not the way it is. And to let go of that is very challenging. And that's why we don't want to give the situations to spirit, because we're wrestling with that.
That's fine. Beautiful. And then Bridget was responding to what you were talking about of delegating, giving it to Holy Spirit. I don't know enough to judge. And Bridget says, cast your cares. I am remembering that more and more. What you said, we weren't designed to carry grievances and guilt, etc.
Okay.
Right on, Bridget. And then I love Demi says, International Love Circle. Love that. We're totally part of that. Yes. And wanting to increase that. Yeah.
You make us international.
Yes. We're just trying to be even national, part of the national love
Demi's
circle.
like, no.
You're way beyond national. You're international.
Yeah.
Thank you, Demi. Demi would know. So, okay. So we are in the number 5 characteristic that the messengers of love develop, and it is joy. And here's the first line of the characteristic of teachers of God: joy. Joy is the inevitable result of gentleness. Okay. So when you're being gentle, because you're not being judgmental, so you're not doing any harm, the inevitable result of that is joy. So where does joy come from? It's not comes from somebody did what you wanted them to do because you made them feel too guilty to do what they really wanted to do. That joy comes when you are gentle, which means you release people from judgment, which means you are doing no harm. Joy is the inevitable result of gentleness.
Yeah, all of these characteristics have an effect.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so then it says gentleness, which is what you're doing when you're not judging. Gentleness means that fear is now impossible. Wow. So if you're being gentle by not judging, then you are going to, then you're being gentle, and then joy will be the opposite, will be the inevitable result. Okay. Anybody out there who could use some joy right about now?
There is joy, joy, joy.
I feel joy looking at
in
this.
my
What is
heart.
this? Oh my
Where down
God.
in my heart,
Wow. That
down
is
in my
beautiful.
heart, there is joy, joy.
This is
joy.
incredible. Wow. Thanks, honey. That's a nice surprise.
You know, I
To
got
give me a gift right on
I
air.
got this the other day
Wow.
when I was shopping for certain things at the store.
Oh, yes. I do recall being in that store, and I remember looking at that and thinking that was awesome.
Yeah, this was when I
Wow.
went by myself.
Is that opal?
That's our birth.
That's our birthstone. Because I said, oh, look, that's our birthstone.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really beautiful. Thank you, baby. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What a nice treat.
Yeah.
You know, that brought me joy.
Well, I thought since we're talking about joy,
Yes.
you look so
Yeah.
ravishing joyful.
I look ravishingly joyful.
Yes.
I've never heard that before.
Well,
That's a
yeah.
new one. Thank you.
Well, somebody should have said it by now.
I know, and as old as I am, let me tell you, to hear something I never heard before, that's something.
That's good.
That's saying a lot.
Leave it up to me. I'll make it.
No doubt. Here goes.
Can I get that sparkling water?
Yes, you may. Okay. So, he said, so gentleness means that fear is now impossible. So when you are being truly gentle because you are not judging, now fear is impossible. And now what could come to interfere with joy when fear is impossible? If there's nothing to fear, then joy is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
You only don't have joy when there's fear.
Mm-hmm.
But when fear is gone, joy is inevitable.
Yep.
Joy and fear are opposites. And when one comes, the other goes away.
Yep.
Okay. So if I don't have joy, it's because I have fear, which means I ain't being gentle. Which means I am judging, which means I'm really doing harm.
And wouldn't it be fair to say that the fear only lasts as long as we keep the situation or the problem or the judgment?
Mm-hmm.
Once we do that gunslinger, throw it up to spirit and say, Spirit, you decide.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Delegate.
Those two words that I heard Anna say for years since I first known her. Spirit, you decide.
Decide for me, Spirit.
It's that quick.
Decide for me, Spirit of joy.
It's like one of those heavy workout bags in the gym that you throw.
Exactly.
And it's like,
how fast can you delegate? How fast can you give over that temptation to judge, which means do harm? Sydney says, show us. Okay, this, Sydney, I know you can't see, it just looks blue, but it's opal. Whoops. It's opal, which is both mine and Greg's birthstone. So beautiful opal pieces that are just gorgeous. Wow. And it looks really like boulder opals.
I went through a crystal shop. They said they'd been there for 3 years, but I thought Anna and I would have seen it by now.
Yeah.
Because
that's how long it's been since we've been in the mall.
We love crystals, and Anna has crystals all over our house, and I love them. But I went into that shop knowing that Anna would love the place. And as soon as I walked by those, I just looked at the guy and I pointed at those and I said, I'll take those. And he goes,
I was there?
No, that's when I was there.
Oh, when you were there without me.
Yeah,
okay.
the time before.
Yeah. Well, you were right. You know.
It was like sometimes it's hard to say why a certain stone, crystal,
story of my life.
Like, almost like
it calls to you.
Yeah.
It goes, hey. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this one. Today I washed. This one is one from our property. And I know you can't really see this, but it's white quartz with a little bit of rose quartz. But it looks like marble. I mean, it's translucent. If when the light is behind it, it's completely translucent. This is something that came from our property. And feel this. It almost feels like it was machined, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like it's a machine?
Yeah, like it was cut.
Like it was cut.
This part,
on this right here. It looks and feels like it was machine cut. But that came from our property. And it's like this translucent piece of marble. I mean, it's stunning.
But it's so smooth, it feels like it was cut with a marble cut.
So amazing. So that's what you get when you come visit us on our property. We live literally on a quartz mountain, literally. We live on a crystal mountain, literally. And so, and thank you, Sydney, machined by God. Exactly. Mary says, Greg is so thoughtful.
Thank you, man.
Demi says, they'll look stunning. You guys are very sweet.
Do you hear that thunder?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Those are gorgeous.
And I really want to say something.
You guys are so sweet.
This might sound kinky to some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. That spirit, I feel like lately I've been hearing spirit, like whatever you want to call that, creator spirit, Father,
voice for
God,
truth,
our maker.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in the store, I didn't ask the guy how much it was to think of. I just felt like as soon as I turned, I heard buy it.
Mm.
And it was the voice of the one that I've learned to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And to be consistent and just listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I felt like this week, that was just one of several things with Anna that I felt like literally the love of Creator was coming through saying, I want to get her this. I'm going to use you to give her this because I know will bring her joy.
Mm-hmm.
And we were created to have joy. We were created to be joyful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a message we didn't hear growing up about God.
Mm-hmm.
We heard that God was full of wrath and just ticked off by every
offended by us.
27 things you did today.
We heard God was offended by us.
Yeah,
that's what we learned.
You said that naughty word, and you did that thing, and just constant walking on eggshells. And God's like, if I can get some messengers to channel through them to show my children. And that's what I feel like the deal with Anna's story is here, to show my children that I love them. I am not ticked off at them.
I love them.
I love them.
I'm in love with my kids.
I think they're doing
like the way
great.
We are.
I think they're doing great. They created this crazy ego, and they're still gonna win. Look at them.
Exactly.
They're still gonna win.
And like we are with our kids or grandkids, it doesn't matter what they do. We can't help but love them. And if they make mistakes, we lovingly want to teach them a better way. That's the way God is with us. God is not angry. God is not angry at all. The Course in Miracles describes the way that God feels about all of God's creations. And the Course in Miracles describes us all as children of God, in whom our Creator is well pleased. And it doesn't say if you blah, 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 or if you blah, 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 or only these people over here. It says we are God's child in whom God is well pleased. That's who we are. There's not one person that God's like, I'm not very well pleased with that one.
Right.
There's nobody that God feels that way about.
And why? Because God is honest.
God's only love.
God is consistent. God is no respecter of persons.
Right.
He reigns on the just and the unjust alike. The just that know that they're children of God, and the ones that are asleep that have forgotten they're children of God.
Yes.
And so God loves all of us, not just the ones that said their prayers today, didn't say any cuss words.
Or tithe at church or
gave,
synagogue or the mosque.
After they gave the government 40% of their stuff, they gave God 10%.
God has created all of God's creations as joyful, as full of joy.
That's our natural state.
That's our natural state. That's the way God created us to be.
What a great, when you're looking forward to a vacation or something, you're like, man, 29 days, 28 days. And you're counting down the days that
you can be happy.
And I'm counting down the days that I'm finally consistent
can be happy.
To not judging, to giving everything to Spirit whenever I'm tempted. Just like kung fuing my way through this ego world that we collectively made, and being a demonstration in a world that's clawing at us for everything it's got to punish us, and to be demonstrators of another way, which is to be joyful.
Exactly. And this is a curriculum, this is a belief system that if you follow it, if you believe it, if you accept it as true, the result is joy.
Yeah.
Now, is what you learned from the past, when you think of is the result from what you learned from the past joy? What you learned in the past about yourself, does that produce joy? Mine doesn't. That's why I so appreciated A Course in Miracles. What I learned from the past did not produce joy consistently. What I learned from the past did not teach me that joy is my natural state. And when I'm not experiencing joy, I'm mistaken. I love it. So Naya says, sometimes when you reference spirit, I'm unsure if you're talking about your dog or God. LOL. LOL. I love it.
That's great, because our dog's named Spirit. That's wonderful, Naya.
Well, Naya, you know our dog, and she doesn't always act just like God. So, and you of all people know that. You've seen our dog Spirit throw some tantrums.
Yeah.
So
and get paranoid.
And be paranoid.
And act like there's something to fear.
And have an attachment disorder. So.
When we're talking
about our dog, whether we're talking about Spirit the dog or Spirit, the spirit of healing, Spirit of truth.
Yeah,
but that's funny.
The Spirit of truth is correct understanding.
Yeah.
Correct perception.
Yes. And then Sydney says it feels that way sometimes. Thank you for today's message. Absolutely. All right. Okay, so moving right along. Cooking with Grace here. Uh-oh. We're having joy before we finish the section on joy.
That's a problem, isn't it?
See? Thou shalt not have premature joy.
Just to let you in on an inside joke, okay? We watched last week's class, and we were fast forwarding, and we kept hitting the thing 10 seconds.
Trying to figure out what characteristic we were
figuring out where we're at, and we're listening to us ramble on forever and not read. And I'm like, man, we talk a lot. We need to read.
We need to read more.
We need to read. So tonight we're going to read.
Right.
And so that's what I came up with.
That's right. That was your plan.
That was my plan. And then the thing is when that plan's not happening, when you're only at sentence 3, maybe, and you've been on for
how long? Right here, 38.
38 minutes, and you read 2 sentences, and the ego goes, "You said before class you're going to read more." And look at you guys aren't reading. You're supposed to be reading, and that temptation of guilt, whatever it is. Now, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't even thinking those thoughts. I'm just making this up because I have had weeks where I have thought that, like, we need to be reading, we need to get going, we need to be getting in it. Come on, why are we yakking? But as soon as that comes along, it's the way you give it. You've given it to Spirit when you come back to rest and you come back to peace. and now you're relaxed with the situation again.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any anxiety anymore. You're not upset. You're not getting angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're deflating because you're not responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not responsible for what's going on in the world, for how everything's unfolding. Like I'm the creator, like what,
Like Mm-hmm.
Instead, just be more of an observer
Mm-hmm.
and just allow and allow, and that takes a lot of what?
Development,
Trust.
learning.
Trust,
Mm-hmm.
which is what everything is built on,
Mm-hmm.
is trust.
That's right.
And for me to just keep trusting, okay, all right, this isn't for me to figure out. It's not to me to judge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the one unveiling creation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just witnessing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm witnessing it with the expectation that it's coming from a God of love, so it's got to be loving.
It's going to be good. And the inevitable result will be joy.
And it will be joyful.
Right. And so it says, joy is the inevitable result of gentleness. Gentleness means that fear is now impossible. And what could come to interfere with joy when you are being gentle?
Mm-hmm.
It says, the open hands of gentleness are always filled. I'm going to say that again. The open hands of gentleness are always filled.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are being gentle, which means not being judgmental, which means not doing harm, then your hands are open, and your open hands are always filled. You won't be like, oh, I'm so lacking. Oh, I needed this and I needed that and I needed this.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. I forgot all about this. When I first started coming to your classes, I had never before then, except for when I went to this one friend's house or listened to this tape, ever meditated.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one and only time I ever did it. So meditation was a new thing for me. And you always opened up your classes and ended them with meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about meditations. I didn't know what it meant, what we were doing. I just know we had our eyes closed. And I noticed a lot of people had their hands like this on their, and they would have their legs crossed and their hands on their knees like this. And so I did that, thinking, well, what's up?
Yeah, I guess that's how you meditate.
I need to figure out what are they doing? Why are they doing it that way? And I just wanted to share this because I remembered that I learned this in your classes, is that the Lord told me, Spirit told me, my higher loving self, my guide told me that, Greg, it doesn't really matter if you touch your finger and your thumb together. What I'm looking for is, do you have any agendas in your hands?
Are your hands open?
Are they open?
Truly open.
Or do you have a plan?
That's what it means when your hands are not open.
And so when I'm meditating, what I was doing, and symbolically, is I would put my hands on my knees like this. I stopped doing that and started doing this because for me, what it is meditation is quieting my mind, stop thinking about everything that's going on, figuring out everything, judging everything.
Emptying your hands.
And it's like God doesn't need to see that because God already knows if I've got some plans going on in my mind.
In your hands.
In my heart. But symbolically, this is reminding me that I'm coming to God with no plans.
Right. No scripts.
I'm not telling God, and then after you do that, would you do this?
Could you fix them that way?
After you get that done, can you get this done?
And go fix them over there.
Peace, or I have more joy when you do that for me the way I want you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of coming that way is just quieting my mind, our mind, and opening our hands, having open hands. And for me, that's what that means.
Exactly.
No judgments, no agenda,
No scripts.
no script.
No, exactly.
And then that brings us back to what? The foundation of trust again.
Exactly. Which is a position of no judgment, which is a position of harmlessness, which inevitably produces joy.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're not clinging to a script, which means when you're not judging what should happen, how they should be, then, and you're not clinging to a judgment, which is a script of how they should be, you're going to be happy. Whatever it is, you're going to be happy. You're going to experience joy. Joy is not when somebody fulfills your script and does what you want them to do. That's not what joy is. Joy is when you let go of the script.
Right.
When you let go of the judgment of how they should be and how things should be.
The opposite of what we were taught to keep us safe.
Exactly. We were taught that if you want to be happy, you better control the outcome, honey.
Right.
You better decide what should be happening and make it happen with as much guilt as you can muster.
Yeah. In that relationship,
that's what we learned.
You better put a lot of chains on them.
Mm-hmm.
Watch what they're doing. See who they're talking to, where they're going, and all the things that you wouldn't want because you can be trusted.
Nice.
But we put all those chains on because that's the way we're taught to do it.
That's
not
right.
Because we're evil.
No, not
not because we're wicked.
Not because we're stupid.
We were raised up literally since we were infant.
Birth or before birth.
Yeah, to always be questioning, always be looking.
Always be judging.
Always be judging. That's what keeps us safe. And to let go of that teaching, years and years of indoctrination.
Maybe lifetimes.
So that's what keeps us safe.
Yeah.
And so to let go of that, we can see why it's a learned curriculum.
Exactly.
And the teachers of God ask for time because we're like,
I'm kind of slow at this.
I'm gonna need some
time.
repetition. Okay. Let me try to do what you did, that backflip, triple somersault thing. And I'm gonna try it one time, but I know I'm not gonna get it right the first time. And God's like, that's fine.
That's all right.
That's okay. We got eternity. You can take as
long
much
as you
time that you want, child.
Exactly.
And we're like, okay, I'm going to trust you a little more today, God. I'm going to trust you a little more today, Lord, creator, maker of me, the one that knows what would make me happy, what would make me joyful, even though I thought I made me and I would know those things.
Even though obviously you didn't know how to make you happy.
Right, because I didn't make me.
And you didn't make you happy. And you weren't happy.
Thank God the lesson, we don't have a lesson of the 365 that say, I'm just as great as Greg created me.
You're right. Exactly.
Okay, well,
I don't remember seeing any lesson like that.
31
I am as Greg created me.
And
right.
I got some aches and pains.
Naya gave you a nice comment here.
Way to go, Greg. You learned that in one of Anna's classes, among many things, Naya. That's fantastic. I'm going to find that meditation tool useful. Yeah.
Emptying your hands of your scripts, of your judgments, as a way to experience peace and joy.
And what she used to say, I haven't heard her say this in a while, but many, many times in my beginning days of your classes, she would say, as I'm doing this thing that I've never done before and been taught that it was satanic.
Occultist.
Yeah.
Like Reese
and so I'm fighting that also while I'm trying to keep my hands open and quiet my mind and not judge anything. But one of the things that Anna would say, and this might help Naya as well, that helped me a lot in my beginning days, is in that meditation, her voice many weeks would come through saying, it's okay to let
Oh,
go.
it's safe.
It's safe.
Safe to let
Yeah.
go. That's
You say
right.
it's okay,
Safe to let
but
go.
it's safe to let go.
Safe to let go.
And what she's doing is
Mhm.
giving yourself permission to let go of that thing that you've been thinking about.
Your scripts, your
Because
plans, your
that's been going on
judgments.
all this time.
Mhm.
In other words, it's almost like you're allowed to leave the matrix. You have permission right
And
now.
you're safe.
And you're safe to do
You
that.
know.
Just because you leave for this even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, oh my goodness. Even though you leave for that long, that power plug of doing that just for 10, 15 minutes in the morning
Mhm.
will surge your day into delight. Because Creator created us to be in relationship with Creator. And so when we start demonstrating, I want to be in relationship with you.
Mhm.
I don't know how. I'm just going to quiet my mind.
Mhm.
I'm just going
Be
to,
still.
I'm going to let go of everything that didn't create me.
Exactly. All my judgments, all my scripts, all my plans, all my ideas of what things mean and what should be happening. That's what it really means to empty your hands. That's what it really means to have open hands. And it says the open hands of gentleness are always filled. So if you are choosing to be gentle, which means non-judgmental, you don't need to worry that you will lack for anything.
And they're gentle or non-judgmental, if we remember, because they're certain of the outcome.
Right.
I'm certain that even though I don't know how this is working out for good, that it is. Because every time I've been doing that for these past years now, it keeps showing me that that's true.
Yeah.
It keeps showing me that the truth is true. And I've got a long ways to go, perhaps, but I'm a lot further than I was.
Amen to that.
And
Which
so,
means
and
that
so are you.
Which means our joy is much greater than it ever has been.
Right, exactly.
And so, because more and more we're learning that in order to experience abundance, that the best way to experience abundance is to let go of your scripts, which are based on your judgments of how things should be, based on your belief that you are God. And so the more that you let go of them, the more abundantly your life is filled. Right? So, and then Naya says, yes, I feel that. And Trisha says, there was a story of a husband and wife. And I'm sure Trisha's just talking about a friend. There was a story of a husband and a wife, and they moved into his home. Now he's dictating all her stuff where it goes. She has too much. She has her own room and her own bathroom. Why? Great question, Trisha. What's the answer to that why? What do you think is the answer to that why, Trisha? It's a great question. Okay. So then it says about joy, remember, the open hands of gentleness are always filled, not halfway filled. They're always filled. The open hands of gentleness are always filled. Okay. Now let's see where we're at. Okay. Here's something else. Hi, Zen. Lovely to see you, dear.
Hey, Zen.
Another person who knows our dog spirit very well.
Thank you.
So we'll definitely not be confusing our dog spirit with spirit of joy.
Thank you both, by the way. Now that you're here.
You're doing such a great job.
Yeah, boy, howdy. Talk about
with our
giving
little call for love dog.
Peace and joy.
Totally.
You guys were a big part of keeping us joyous.
Exactly. Because Zen and I were so gentle with our call for love dog, who was not being gentle and was not trusting. Our dog spirit was not trusting. And so she wasn't really being gentle. And yet they were still patient with her.
Yes.
Thank you. as her dog parents that helped us a lot. Okay. And Tricia says the answer is why? Fear of losing. Very good. But if your hands are filled with abundance, what would you be afraid of losing? Okay. We're only afraid of losing something when our hands are not open and they're not filled, meaning full. Okay. But when our hands are full of blessings, because we were gentle instead of fearful and judgmental, then there is no more fear of losing. Okay, so that's the right answer, Tricia. Okay, now here's another thing that it says about the gentle. And who are the gentle? It's those who are not judging. Okay. The gentle who are not judging have no pain. Woo.
Sign me up.
Okay. Okay. So the gentle, they not only are the gentle's hands open from scripts and judgment, and so they are full, but that's why the gentle have no pain.
Yeah, they're not judging anymore.
And they're not perceiving lack.
Right.
Pain is like, oh, I've lost, I've been abandoned, somebody left me, I'm alone, I've lost, I'm alone, I've been abandoned, right? But somebody whose hands are full, they would never say, oh my God, somebody abandoned me. They would be like, look how much I have. So that's why the gentle whose hands are filled have no pain. Pain comes from perception of lack.
And they may not recognize at the moment how this is good, how this could possibly be good, how this is working out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the gentle are confident of what the outcome.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
The outcome isn't here yet, but we're confident in it.
And so we remain gentle. We don't need to judge because we know what's ultimately going to be the outcome.
Yep.
I don't need to sit here and judge what it means and what's going to happen and what should happen, blah, blah. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, God's going to judge and everything's going to go the way it's, whatever shifts and happens and unexpected things I didn't even think of pop up out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting there going, doo-doo, doo-doo.
And the result is always abundance and joy.
Joy.
So, I love it. Nice that she's a hoot. Yes, she is. But it takes a special kind of patience and wisdom to be able to perceive our dog's spirit's call for love and answer it. So, thank you, Naya and Zen, on that one. So, then it says, so hear that. Those who are gentle, which means not judging and not grasping of scripts and agendas, the gentle, they have no pain. The gentle cannot suffer. Why would the gentle not be joyous? The gentle are sure that they are beloved, and the gentle are certain and sure that they must be safe. Why? Because joy goes with gentleness as surely as grief attends attack. So we got two things here. There's gentleness and there's attack. Mm-hmm. Now, you're either being gentle and not judging and being tolerant and patient, or you're attacking. You're holding on to a script. You're gripping a script in your gripping hands.
A grievance.
That's
how I usually translate judgments as a grievance.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So you're either experiencing gentleness and joy, or you're experiencing grief, upset. Look what I don't have. Look what I don't have.
Look what's lacking in this situation.
Look what's lacking in this situation. Look what's been taken from me.
Look what's not going right.
Look what's been taken from me.
Look how they're acting.
Mm-hmm. Look what I've lost. Look how I've been abandoned. That's the opposite of your hands of gentleness being filled.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
One
they
perception.
can't be filled with anything because they're already filled with all of our own opinions and interpretations of what's going on. So we don't have any room. It's like, this is bad, and this isn't working out, and I don't like how they said that to me. And,
This is what I'm going to do about it.
and then I got all this stuff, and I'm like,
here's my grievances and my scripts.
God,
and happiness.
take this from me. What all these things are happening and people are doing to me, and God's like, I can't take it from you, because to take it is to give you, and there's nowhere to give because your hands are full, Greg.
I can't give you my answer, Greg.
Put that
Because your
grievance
hands are
down.
full
Put the grievance
with grievances.
Put that rock you wanted to throw at that person. It looks pretty shiny and cute. Put that away, that choker you want to choke that person. And put that little box away.
The way you want to box them in with your judgments.
And then it's like, now you can receive.
Now you can receive God's plan for your happiness that cannot fail. Right. But before that, you can't receive God's plan for your happiness that cannot fail, because your hands are full with your scripts, your agendas, your plans that obviously don't make you happy.
Yeah. And then when our hands are empty, which is hard to do, let go of all that.
It sure is.
Quit judging.
That's the practice.
That situation. Quit being certain we're right about how there's no way this could be good. It's only bad. And our hands are empty, that the miracle can happen.
Right.
And the miracle, I was listening to the course today while I was doing my thing, and it was going through at the beginning of the introduction. A miracle is just a change of mind. Just a change of mind. And that's what letting go of the grievances is. I'm willing to have my mind changed. And so
I'm willing to be happy where I have not been happy.
I'm willing to receive a miracle.
I'm willing to be happy.
Because I'm going to trade what was upsetting me for something that's going to literally give me joy. Because once I see it from God's perspective, it will only bring joy. I'll be like, hallelujah. Man, that's so wild. I was thinking this is messed up. This is messed up. This situation.
This ain't right.
And I gave that up. And that's why it's a miracle, because we don't think it's possible.
That is a miracle every time.
To be joyful about it.
Yes, exactly. And we want to be right about that.
Right.
You're like, this cannot be good. They did me wrong.
I know I'm right.
I know I'm right. They did me wrong. And there's no way I could be happy the way they did me wrong.
Right.
You know, that's what you want to be right about.
Right.
You want to be right about they did you wrong, and that's why you can't be happy. And you're fighting to be right about that.
Right. Even though
why you can't be happy.
Even though it's making you miserable.
Exactly.
You'll fight it.
You'll be like,
no, I'm right.
And that's why I can't be happy right now.
I don't want to empty my hands.
Exactly.
This deserves to be in my hand.
Right.
This knife that I'm stabbing myself with.
I'm justified. Yeah. And that's our call for love. That's our sickness. That's our suffering, is that I would rather be right than be happy.
Right.
And that's why I'm suffering, because I'd rather be right when I'm wrong
that's why I'm not
than I'd rather be happy.
That's why I'm not joyful.
And that's why we're not joyful. You know, it says, so now the gentle have no pain. The open hands of the gentle are always filled. The gentle cannot suffer. And so why would the gentle not be joyous? The gentle are sure that they are beloved, and the gentle are sure that they must be safe. That's because joy goes with gentleness just as surely as grief attends attack. Now, love's teachers, gentleness's teachers, trust in God. God's teachers trust in God. And so God's teachers are sure that God's teacher goes before them, making sure no harm can come to them. Love's teachers hold love's gifts, and love's teachers follow in love's way because love's voice directs love's teachers in all things. Joy is the song of thanks of love's teachers. And love looks down on love's teachers in thanks as well. Love's need of love's teachers is just as great as love's teachers' need of love. How joyous it is to share the purpose of love.
That's awesome. That
When your purpose is
we know
love.
we're doing it right when we're joyful.
Exactly. And when you're joyful, that comes from having the purpose of love, being gentle, the purpose of love, the purpose of being gentle, but the purpose of being loving, which is the purpose of not judging. You know, the purpose of being loving means that my purpose is not here to judge. My purpose is only here to love, to be gentle, not to judge. And the when you have the purpose of gentleness, which means not judging, because you're not in a position to judge, not the judge, then all you will experience is joy.
Mm-hmm. And can you imagine ever going, this Tuesday you got to go to stand in front of a judge?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever look forward to that?
Mm-hmm. No.
Even one time ever?
Even if you think you're justified and even if you think you're right, you're still afraid to go before the judge.
Yeah. Who wants to do that?
Right.
Nobody.
But.
And yet we have created a God that's who God is. God's sitting there going, I'm waiting to judge you.
We projected.
You got 80 years and then we're going to judge you. You better be doing it right. You could die before then. You never know. And I'm going to judge you. And God says this is the characteristics of the teacher of God, the messengers of love. Why? Because when God said, let us make into our own image, this is what I believe was being said is let us develop these children into our own adulthood as who they are when they become adults. They're joyous. They don't judge. Why? Because that's God's characteristics.
Yeah.
God is not the God that we were taught that thing. They're going, all right, a few more days and I get to judge Greg. I'm waiting for this. Long time.
I remember all the things he's done.
We're going to do a life review. Oh, yeah. Bring me some coffee, Gabriel.
And some popcorn.
And Michael. Popcorn. Get some lounge chairs out.
And some tissues for Greg.
Yeah. Get a bunch of tissues. Because he's going to be trembling. He's going to be
crying like a baby.
He's been worried about this his whole life because he knows the statistics are pretty high. Boy, a few are going to make it. Very few. The road is narrow.
And he knows what he's been doing.
And he knows what he's been walking on the road sometimes late night after some honky-tonk bar. And we're going to look at all of that.
Exactly.
And to hear that God's like, that ain't me.
I love Greg.
Yeah. And the only reason you're so judgmental is because you've been taught that's how I am. So if that's how God is, then it shouldn't everybody be judgmental.
And the reason that we are afraid of God is because we projected onto God the way we are. We're judgmental. We're unforgiving.
Right.
And so now we assume that God is like us, our image of God, we project it onto God. We think God's like us, judgmental, unforgiving,
that's a great point.
Merciless.
If you look at 100 people, if 100 people come into your sphere of influence, do only a few make it into your
inner circle
that you trust and love and want to hang out with?
Right.
And yet,
that's how we are.
The highway to crucifixion, to torment, to get away from
is wide.
is why.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people never.
That's how we have been doing it.
That's right. Exactly. That's
It's
right.
so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Projection is a real thing, people.
Telling you, perception is projection.
Right.
And so, unless you're perceiving correctly, and then your perception is not projection, that's just reality. But then it says that the gentle, they hold love's gifts, and the gentle follow in love's way, because love's voice directs the gentle in all things. So when someone is gentle, they only follow the voice of love.
Mm-hmm.
They only follow a gentle voice. They don't follow a voice that goes, get them, they're guilty,
right,
crucify them. Those who are gentle, they only follow the voice of gentleness.
And they're bringing a gift.
And anything that tells them to be anything but gentle, they don't follow. And their hands are always filled.
Right.
They don't experience lack. Okay. And those who are gentle, joy is their song of thanks. Those who are gentle, they're always singing the song of thanks. They're always like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's all they say.
That puts a whole new spin to worshiping God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People think to worship God is to say with words,
Mm-hmm.
I worship you.
Thank you, God.
Adore you.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that really honor God are the ones that are joyous.
That's right. That's what it means to honor God.
That's what it means to honor, to worship,
right,
or to praise God, because you're giving the gift back to God that God gave. God gave the gift of joy. And so what God gave, God will receive back, give and receive. And so God will receive it back. And so it's coming back. So all we have to do is get in the channel that it comes through.
That's right. That's it.
And then all of a sudden we express
our hands
joy,
are
filled with joy. Our hands are filled with joy.
We're expressing joy and our hands are full.
And we're the channels that God is receiving back what God gave.
Right.
That's so awesome.
Exactly. And so joy is the song of thanks of the gentle folks. And then love looks down on the gentle in thanks as well.
Right.
So God's like, thank you for being gentle. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for being joyful.
Thank you for being gentle and joyful. Thank you.
How refreshing.
Yeah. And God himself is thanking the gentle. So those who are truly gentle, God thanks.
Right.
God is like, thank you. Now, what do you think it's going to be like when God itself thanks you?
I think it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I would imagine it's be pretty good.
The reason I say that is it's been pretty good.
Exactly. When God herself is thanking you for being gentle to God's creations, how do you think that's going to be? You're going to be like, wow, I'm so glad I was gentle. I'm so glad I was gentle.
There's a lot of times.
Note to self. Do that again.
I tell Anna, and she says to me, I love my life. I just told her that before class. I just love driving up the dirt road to our house, going, I'm back into nature. And I was like, I love our life. And, the way it is for us isn't the way it would be for somebody else to be joyous.
To love their life.
But the way that it is for us, I am joyful. And Anna often says, the rewards of God.
Rewards of forgiveness.
It's another way of saying the rewards of
gentleness.
Why you're being honest, being consistent, giving it to
the rewards of trust, gentleness, tolerance, patience, honesty.
Giving up thinking you have to be right about this situation.
Right.
Giving up the spirit.
The rewards.
Giving it back.
Just like it said.
To the judge. And not me be the judge.
Right.
Not me kicking God off the throne going, I'm going to judge the situation.
I know what should be happening.
Where's your lightning rod and your wrath bar? Something.
And your whip.
Yeah, whip.
Yeah.
Let's get it out. Let's get the whole arsenal out.
Exactly. As opposed to gentleness.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I'm not being God.
Right.
I'm not being the judge. I'm not being the author and finisher of everything. I'm just being the creator.
I'm just being grateful to God.
And I'm
And
being
gentle.
certain of the outcome. I'm certain of the outcome. I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know what the plan is. That's why I'm not the planner. If I knew the plan, then I'd be the planner.
And I'd be happy all the time.
Right.
But I'm not. Okay. So it says, and love's need of the gentle folk is just as great as the gentle folks' need of God. How joyous it is to share the purpose of love. How joyous it is to share the purpose of gentleness. How joyous it is to serve the purpose of gentleness, to share the purpose of gentleness. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next characteristic of love's messengers that love's messengers learn and develop.
Number 6.
And that is defenselessness. Our favorite. Because none of us are ever defensive.
We're never trying to defend.
Are you ever defensive?
We're never trying to defend our position.
Oh, never. I'm never trying to defend my position, my opinion.
Right.
How about you? People say their opinions, I don't agree with it all. And I go, oh, well, that's wonderful. Good for you. What happens when somebody's sharing with you a position, a judgment that you do not agree with at all? That's the opposite of what you believe. Are you like, oh, that's great, wonderful. How's that working out for you? Or are you defensive? Okay. We know the answer to that. You don't have to answer that. We know. Okay. Defenselessness is the next characteristic that the messengers of love develop. Meaning they don't have it now, but they got to develop it. They got to learn how to be defenselessness. Okay. It says this. Love's messengers have learned how to be simple.
And there's that word, learned.
There's that word, learned. We are learning how to be what we are.
How to be simple.
How to be simple. What does that mean? Learning how to be simple. What does that mean?
Not a lot of drama.
That's right. It means that love's messengers have no fantasies that need defense against the truth. I got some scripts. I got some needs. I got some fantasies of how you should be for me to be happy. Those are my dreams that I'm defending. I'm certain you need to change for me to be happy, and I'm defending that dream. I'm defending that script. And that means I'm not being simple. That means I'm being defensive. Okay. So, but love's teachers, they have no scripts and agendas that need defense against the truth. Love's teachers, they don't try to make themselves or anybody else. Love's messengers isn't like, hey, you need to be like this, and you need to be like this, and then I need to be like this, and this, and this. Love's messengers don't need that.
And they don't try to make themselves. In other words, if I think that, I was hearing today that the authority problem is that we act like we created ourselves.
Yes, right.
And that's an authority problem.
Yeah.
The authority is God created us, not us. And for me to want things to change, I'm saying, now I made me.
Mm-hmm.
And the evidence of that is because I know it's going to bring me joy.
Mm-hmm. Even though it never has worked.
And so I'm going to defend because that's not going to bring me joy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to watch out.
I'm going to defend my scripts
over there because that's not going to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm defending as if I created myself.
Right.
and I know it would make me happy, rather than trusting God made me happy the way it must be, the way God knows it would be to make me happy, even though it seems quite the opposite a lot of times from my perception, because I want to be the interpreter of what's going on, because I made me. I know it would make me happy.
Even though I'm not happy.
Right.
So that's the ego. I know what will make me happy, and I'm defending and I'm defensive for my scripts about what's going to make me happy, even though I'm not happy.
Because I made myself.
Because I made myself, and I know, even though obviously I don't, because I ain't happy. You know, that's what it means to be defended instead of defenseless. Right. So one of the characteristics of the messengers and teachers of love is they are defenseless. They're not really like defending themselves all the time. I need to defend myself about against that person's wrong perception of me. And so now that justifies my attack against them and my judgment against them. I am defensive against them, against their perception of me. Defensive, right? But does defensiveness and joy go together? If I'm defending myself against somebody's perception of me, am I typically happy?
I'm upset.
No, I'm typically upset and angry and offended. I'm offended and I'm angry and I'm upset. I'm not like, oh, it doesn't matter what they think about me. That's all right, whatever. Whatever. They didn't create me. I didn't even create me. So whatever, who cares? Right. So when you are those who are not being a messenger and teacher for love, they are defensive. They're always defending themselves against other people's perceptions of them. And those people who are being defensive, they're never happy. You know, it's not being defensive and being happy never go together. Right. Somebody who's really happy, they're not defending themselves. They're like, how dare you judge me like that? Somebody who's happy is like, oh, whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter what you think about me. It doesn't even matter what I think about me. That's why I'm happy. Okay. So the joyous are not defensive. They are defenseless because they know it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks about them, because they know it doesn't even matter what they think about themselves, because they know they didn't create themselves. And that's why they're happy instead of defensive. Now, the defensive, it says the God loves teachers do not try to make themselves. The joy of love's messengers comes from their understanding of who created them. And does what God created need defense? No one can become an advanced teacher of love until they fully understand that defenses are but the foolish guardians of mad illusions. And the more grotesque the mad illusions and defenses, the more grotesque the defenses, the fiercer and more powerful the ego's defenses seem to be. The more grotesque the fantasy, the fiercer and more powerful our defenses seem to be. Do you have any powerful and grotesque and fierce defenses right now? Is there anywhere in your life where you're like defending yourself very fiercely? Okay, so that is where you are not aware. That's where you're trying to guard lies about yourself. Now, this says, yet when you, the teacher of love, finally agree to look past all your defenses against whatever they're thinking about you, you find that there was nothing there in your defenses against those other folks. When you finally stop defending yourself, you realize there was nothing to defend, right? When you stop defending yourself against their misperceptions of you, you realize there was nothing to defend anyway. Okay.
Yeah, there was no reason to give guilt.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reason to give thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Or praise.
Right. That's right.
Or
gratitude.
Joy or gratitude or thanksgiving.
Thank you, God.
Wow, okay.
But you realize there was nothing to defend yourself against all the while.
Yeah, how can I defend myself against everything that's working out for good?
Exactly. Exactly. So slowly at first, the teachers of love let themselves be undeceived. But the teacher of love learns faster as their trust in love increases. As their trust in, I don't need to defend myself. That person didn't create me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even create me. I don't need to defend myself. As your trust increases in the one who created you, then you slowly let yourself be undefended. You
Right.
slowly let yourself be less defensive, realizing that there's nothing to defend against. They don't know my truth. They didn't create me. I don't need to defend against them. They don't know the truth about me. They didn't create me. I didn't even create me. So I don't need to defend myself. And that's what it means to say that your trust increases and you slowly let yourself be undeceived, by somebody else's grievance with you. And then it says, it is not danger that comes when your defenses are laid down. So that's a really important truth right there. And I want you to hear that. It is not danger that comes when you lay down your defenses against you know who. What comes is safety. When you lay down your defenses against you know who you were acting like had power over you, like as if they created you. Now you got to defend yourself against them. When you lay your defenses against that person, it is not danger that comes, it's actually safety. And it is peace that comes when you lay your defenses down. And also, it is joy that comes. And what comes when you lay your defenses down is God. That's what really happens when you lay your defenses down. Teacher of love.
God comes because God is the one that created me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the author of my making
Mm-hmm.
is now allowed to show me this is why
What is true.
This is what's
Right.
true. This is what's really going on.
And what's really going on is that you're not in danger. And what's really going on is that your true identity is not at risk. It can't be threatened. You don't need to defend yourself because you have not really been attacked, and you have not been changed from the way love created you to be just because that person didn't see you correctly. So there's nothing to defend yourself against. And then you have joy. Now you have peace. Once you realize that you don't need to defend yourself because you can't be changed from what God created you to be, which is guiltless and innocent forever.
And I can appear to be attacked. I mean, even 100 people around me could go, "Man, Greg, you're being attacked.
You're the devil's spawn, Greg.
You shouldn't have to put up with this. Everybody's attacking you."
Exactly.
And the child of God, this is really helpful for me because I go to different
chat sites,
spiritual chat sites, and just share these truths, which of course fly in the face of many other doctrinal beliefs. And so they get very defensive.
Very defensive.
Because it starts making them angry.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and so because of that, they attack, saying, you're demon possessed.
You're devil spawn.
I've been called the devil spawn.
So funny.
Just all kinds of crazy names.
But Greg isn't like, how dare you call me the devil spawn? Greg is not defensive.
Yeah.
Because Greg knows the truth.
Right.
And so Greg isn't defensive.
In fact, a lot of times when they say cut me down and it is funny, like if I was sitting on their side of the table, I'd be like, that was a good one. I'll go, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
I could see how you could be the life of the party. You're very witty.
Mm-hmm.
and that's not the reaction they're looking for, of course.
They're looking for you to be defensive.
Right. But this help, and I've already noticed the power of this is when I'm not being defensive, what happens. But tonight, what I've heard personally is why I'm not defensive, because when I'm not being defensive, it gives back the author of my making to the author.
That's right.
It gives back God's Godship.
Exactly.
It gives back Creator being the Creator, not me being the Creator. Because if I'm the Creator, then I know what would make me happy. I know how the situation should be going. I'm the creator of everything that's going on. I'm the big one, and that's not my function. My function being the created and letting the Creator unveil creation to me.
And letting creation fill my hands.
And if I don't get in the way, which is having my hands not empty, there's an old proverb or something: "Who shall ascend to Mount Zion, God's holy place? Those who have a contrite heart and open, clean hands."
Yes.
And open, clean hands is not having an agenda.
That's right. Scripts and judgments.
Who shall ascend to God's holy place? The one that doesn't have judgment, plans,
scripts,
interpretation,
agendas,
opinions,
judgments,
ill judgments, condemnation.
Yes.
Their hands are empty.
That's right.
And God's going, well done. Good,
that's what it means to be innocent.
Good job.
Really.
Now what can I do? The Lord God is what I want to do, and that's give gifts. We read earlier where we're delivering gifts. We're the God's Santa Claus, basically. We're coming back.
We're God's couriers. God's messengers.
God,
the messengers.
Deliverers.
Yes.
And we're delivering peace.
We're love's messengers.
Joy, happiness, all the things that they're not used to getting from people.
From others.
And then they start to wonder, what are they doing?
Right. There's a great line similar to that you were mentioning, that from the Course it says, God is not far behind a grateful heart and a thankful mind.
Right.
And so, when your hands are open, it's where you're grateful and you're thankful. You're not grasping grievances, plans, and agendas, scripts.
God inhabits the praise of his people.
Yes.
Meaning that when they're not praising the grievance, God's not there.
Right. When they're not grateful.
Because God's not allowed to be there.
No.
Because God's not the creator anymore.
Right. When you're not being grateful, you're not allowing the reality of God's love and gifts to be in your awareness.
Right.
All right. Well, there you go. And so next.
So if Greg and Anna are scrolling, going, what section were we on?
We're going to say.
Come to the very end. Remember, come to the very end, and we're on number 7, generosity.
That's right.
Generosity is where we're going to be. We did 2 host characteristics, which is fine. I really am been getting a lot out of these. I love these.
Me too.
It's such a great
ultimate guide.
It's such a good reminder of who, what is our purpose? What is our function? And this goes through all of them.
Exactly. The characteristics that we are wanting to develop as love's messengers, that's our guide. Yeah. That's what we're wanting to develop. That's what we're wanting to learn. That's our guide.
People go, I want to be a minister, a pastor, a priest, or whatever for you, God. And God's like, can you have open hands?
Yeah. Can you release from judgment? And so I just want to let you guys know that June 21st, Dr. Carla Adams and I are doing our next monthly Course in Miracles play shop at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center. It's in person. So if you're in the Denver area and you're looking for a whole day of Course in Miracles application and Course in Miracles community, then come on down. And our next one, June 21st, is called Abundant Living Through Community. So it's all about how A Course in Miracles talks about that our abundance comes through our joining. Relationships. Exactly what Greg and I talk about every Tuesday. That real true abundance comes through the quality of your relationships.
Right.
Are you relating as equals? Are you giving your relationships to spirit, to love, to use for you? That's what determines your experience of abundance or lack in life. Are you, what are the quality of your connections? And so that's in person at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center, June 21st from 10 a.m. to 3. And if you're interested, just do that QR code or reach out to me or Dr. Carla, and we will have a good time with some miracles. So just want to tell you that for sure. And Greg and I will both be there, and we're going to have a good time.
Carla will be there. She's
amazing, outstanding teacher of God. And so if you're looking for a deeper experience of community, spiritual community of like minds, and the abundance that really comes through that, then, come on down June 21st to the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center. And that's what we're going to be doing, creating greater abundance in our lives through joining with other beings who share a similar purpose for love and healing. All right. Who couldn't use that? So love you guys. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing this class. And thanks for your feedback, your honest questions. This is a co-creation that we are co-creating. And this is how we heal the world, y'all. This is how we do it. This is how we heal our relationships. This is how we heal ourselves. This is how we heal our world. All right. So we love you all so much. And we'll see you next time. We'll see ya. So happy to be